things have changed. My goodness, it's a whole new era here. Beautiful. This would be a great place to work again. Isn't that something? When I was hired, they said, you're going to have to do everything the guys do, and that included carrying around heavy cameras. Who is this young girl? Look at her. Tracy! How are you? Oh!
I love you, sweetie.
I love you too.
Oh,
mwah.
wonderful.
Do we look the same?
Hey.
John!
There they are.
Hi.
There they are.
Is this Dr. McKay?
Oh, get out of here. Get out of here.
That's right. We're so proud of you. Great to see you.
No, good to see you. You doing all right?
I'm doing fine.
Oh, give me a hug.
There you go. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine.
good.
Yourself? You look good. Kept your weight down.
Yeah.
Good Lord, I'm envious.
That's the hard part.
Oh, no. Isn't that the truth? I mean, geez, I look at a cake and it's like,
Good
how you
to
doing?
see you.
Good to see you. You doing all right?
Yes,
Looking
I'm okay.
good.
I'm 70 today.
Oh, are you?
My birthday.
Happy birthday.
How are you?
What a birthday present.
I'm telling
Hey.
you.
Oh.
If you want to know who you are, you've got to know where you've been, how it all started. We signed on for the first time as KBTV in 1949. But the Texas oil man who owned the station was losing money and something had to be done. So he sold it to Belo. Belo changed the call letters to WFAA. In 1960, they decided it was time for a new home, right here on Young Street in downtown Dallas.
New building.
From iconic shows to the most important moments in our history,
There she is.
legacy lives here. It's where we've been, it's who we are.
I love it.
I would say welcome, but I guess it's more like welcome back, right?
You would be on the news, and he knew I wanted to be a newscaster
At third grade.
in third grade.
Oh my goodness,
and
good for
he
you.
would point at the television at you and say, "You can do what Iola does."
Oh my goodness, isn't that something?
And all of these years later,
Here you are.
here we are.
It's wonderful to finally meet you.
Miss the people, miss working here in such a wonderful environment, and this is fabulous. I've only seen it on TV.
Channel 8 News on the move.
The spirit of Texas, it's alive on Channel 8. Come up and celebrate the spirit of Texas on 8.
I think it's just fantastic for all of us to be here together like this. As somebody who's, of all of us, I'm the newest to North Texas, so I'm fascinated to hear a little bit about WFAA's legacy and how far it goes back.
When I came here, it was a completely different world. Dallas was a different world. It was a small city by comparison to what it is today, and WFAA was really known throughout the industry, but still on a small scale by comparison.
For a station still figuring out how this news business was supposed to work and still inventing the art of news coverage as they went along, the tests would come quickly.
You're looking at pictures of a killer tornado that hit Oak Cliff April 2nd, 1957.
A tornado, the deadliest in DFW at the time. 10 dead, 600 homes destroyed in a 21-mile path of destruction, and a test for a news team.
WFAA television news cameramen were on their way.
Armed only with film cameras and Chevrolet station wagons.
The job of a cameraman is to get pictures of the news and chase the funnel across the city.
Chaos. People screaming.
But a news department still in its infancy would get its biggest test.
President passes right in front of our cameras now.
November 22nd, 1963.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. You'll excuse the fact that I'm out of breath.
WFAA and an out-of-breath program director
from all indications at this point has happened in the city of Dallas. Let me quote to you this.
Told the world.
President Kennedy and Governor John Connally have been cut down by assassins' bullets in downtown Dallas. A gentleman just walked in our studio.
Abraham Zapruder and his infamous film.
He was right there. The camera was the exclusive footage of the assassination.
That's how the world knew there was the Zapruder film. The FBI and the Secret Service showed up wanting to get that film processed. That was all part of the mystique of this TV station, to have Abraham Zapruder walk in the door, to be at the right place at the right time. I don't think that's luck. I think that's smart people doing smart things.
I don't think anyone was left unaffected. Everyone pitched in.
All of us at ABC News in New York are intensely proud of the job that has been done by our staff at WFAA TV.
It's been a hard day's night.
But news comes in other forms too. For example, a British invasion. John, Paul, George, and Ringo in cowboy hats for their first visit to Dallas. It was September 1964. When legendary photographer and reporter Bert Shipp snuck his way into an exclusive interview with the Fab Four.
Although you haven't seen much of Dallas, the part of it you have seen, what do you like?
Well, pretty fine. Did you
get to see the presidential site?
No. The only bit we've seen so far is the hotel.
What kind of girls do you prefer?
My wife.
Your wife. What kind of girl is she?
She's a nice girl.
What kind of girl do you like?
John's wife.
John's wife? Totally not. That's a clown.
Nobody likes a small fella.
I mean, just like they were jacking with my dad, making fun of him, making fun of his accent. He didn't care.
Rolling now.
He was getting his exclusive interview with the Beatles that nobody got during that tour. Nobody got a one-on-one with the Beatles, except for my dad.
Thank you all very much.
Okay, thank you.
The stories of Bert Shipp and all of these people who were on this JFK coverage really landed WFAA on the map.
You know, you look at those old tapes today, walking around smoking the cigarettes. And it's an entirely different world today.
There isn't a time when I would come to work here that I drove through Dealey Plaza when I did not think about what happened in that plaza.
Talk about the legend that was Marty Haig, because y'all keep talking about him. How was he so magnificent?
Marty was just absolutely, you talk about an anchor.
Yeah.
He was the anchor
Right,
in the newsroom.
he was.
His name is synonymous with journalism excellence.
He was the guru. He led the charge. He was so good.
Marty Haig was WFAA's news director from 1973 to 1989.
The mantra in the newsroom was always own the big story.
Phyllis, here's what we can see, and we'll just go in and show it to you.
He pushed and innovated.
Marty was not easy. Marty was a perfectionist.
He established impeccable standards for ethics.
I mean, it was in Marty's blood, his sinew, his veins.
His influence was enormous, and the product he put together hadn't been seen before.
Our newsroom is named for Marty Haig.
And it was magic. It was magic.
Because Marty Haig is an industry icon.
They're the greatest staff in the world.
In the 1970s, Channel 8 was literally traveling the world.
Channel 8 News sent Bob Gooding to Vietnam.
Not only Vietnam, but also Paris, Stockholm, and Rome, with wives of Vietnam War POWs.
What is the main reason they cannot even know if their husbands are dead or alive?
Cambodia is dying in one way or another.
The biggest stories.
We're passing through the berm the Iraqis built along their southern border with Kuwait,
including the very first days of Operation Desert Storm in Iraq.
We were in Cairo, Egypt,
The Arab world has reacted before.
the Monday after Saddam Hussein invaded Kuwait on Thursday. We had a reporter there the entire time.
Lisa McCree, Channel 8 News.
Also went to Afghanistan right after 9/11. We went to Somalia.
Thousands sit starving on the border.
All these things were products of the journalism that Channel 8 did and still does.
Our viewers knew that if it was a big news story, no matter what it was, here or anywhere, it was on Channel 8.
And Alert 3 at the airport means
plane's down.
A Delta Airlines jumbo jet lies in ruins tonight at DFW Airport.
A Lockheed L-1011, a North Texas microburst.
That's when I first learned the term wind shear.
I had actually left the station to pick up my daughter, and I knew I was going to be turning around going back.
The rain was so hard you couldn't see 30 foot in front of you.
137 people would die.
The jet apparently hit the ground on the north side of Highway 114, striking several cars.
Dumped all programming, and that was unheard of back in that day.
The airflow over the wing, constant information and constant reporting from the scene.
So the whole community was in shock and mourning.
Marty was sending people here and there, and everybody in the newsroom. Those people who were off, most of them came in,
Right.
and everybody was involved in that coverage. And when the big story hit, as that of course was, that's exactly what happened.
we
at
did.
Channel. That's what we did.
One of the most difficult jobs that all of us have had is when there is a breaking news tragedy and you are looking in the camera and you are having to tell family members that somebody that they know might have died, and you have to tell it in such a way that shows some compassion.
WFAA cameras were pointed to the Texas sky that fateful day Space Shuttle Columbia disintegrated on re-entry.
Everybody, all call. Get to the newsroom as fast as you can.
It was a pretty big boom, rattling sound.
Leaving a path of debris
Falling all over North Texas.
and grief from Dallas to Hemphill.
They had found one of the astronauts' remains, and we all just kind of stopped and said a prayer, and it was really sad.
But WFAA cameras captured triumphant moments too.
A little girl named Baby Jessica out in West Texas got trapped in a well. We had that on live.
It was 1987.
There she is.
WFAA cameras and satellite trucks broadcast the rescue around the world. The tradition of being a North Texas window to the world continues in places like West. In 2013, the devastating fertilizer explosion. But WFAA does not just report on disasters. For the year that followed, we followed the town as it sought to rise from the ashes and honor the lives lost.
I think we'll be able to go on.
We have been there as North Texas rebuilds again and again. Whether it was the Christmas tornadoes of Garland and Rowlett in 2015, the North Dallas tornado 4 years later, or the most recent destruction in Valley View just a few months ago.
Dallas was ground zero in the U.S. for Ebola at a time when no one knew what Ebola was.
In 2014, the first Ebola patient in the United States, Thomas Eric Duncan, was treated right here in Dallas.
Really, it was the first time in my career that I saw a television newsroom truly become a 24/7 public service.
Duncan died, and 2 nurses became infected.
Our job was to pat down the fear and give people the facts. And that is the power of local journalism. Be there when it matters, at the time they need us.
But as we remain your window to the world, whether it was the day the iconic Big Tex met his accidental electrical fire fate at the State Fair of Texas.
I got a call from a Dallas police officer, and he is running, and he's out of breath, and he says, Big Tex is on fire. I'm like, what?
Got a rather tall cowboy, all his clothes burned off.
Or the day a Dallas demolition project left a tower leaning.
Some people were angry about it, and just like anything, you know, we found some humor in it.
And we have been honored to follow the saga of Miss Opal Lee, whose lifetime of effort finally made Juneteenth a national holiday.
Become one people. Here, it's not a white thing, it's not a black thing, it's an American thing.
The world will always need storytellers. And that really gives me hope for the future of the business, because there's got to be someone still standing that can give it to you straight. And hopefully keep your needs and wants in mind, and how can that news reporter help you be a better citizen by just keeping you up to date on what you need to know in your community.
Channel 8 has always had tremendous weather staffs, not just the people you see on the air, but folks backing them up.
Remember 1980?
How do you forget 1980?
I wasn't
Oh my goodness, you were miserable all summer. It was just unbelievable. It was a relief to come here to the station where they had super air conditioning.
Both Troy and Pete took this very, very seriously. And I know people who live in the city would say, oh, why are you interrupting my program for so-and-so? Well, they're interrupting it because 2 miles away and headed in a direction is a tornado that can kill them.
Wind blew in Texas today.
Warren Culbertson was the first meteorologist at WFAA back in 1950.
And that's your evening edition weather.
Then came Dale Milford.
But then Jack Ben Roy, and then I came along.
And the question for Troy Duncan is spring here yet?
In 1976, Troy Duncan was hired as chief weather anchor along with his trademark bow ties.
Do I have any visuals to use for the weather?
I came in to do the interview with Marty Haig wearing a regular tie. That's probably the best way to start off. You don't say I'm weird just to begin with.
Here's what we had. The high temperature today has been 52 degrees.
And it took people a while to get over the clown image, but after they did, then, you know, that's just who I am.
We're actually not looking too bad here.
We had all the latest equipment, but it wasn't very late at that point.
Which will take us through the weekend. Tonight, clearing.
Summer of 1980, 67 100-degree days, 42 in a row. June 26 and 27, 113. The hottest ever. Next day it cooled off to 112.
Through heat waves and hailstorms, like the one that hit Fort Worth Mayfest in 1995.
Softball-sized hail was just really, really bad.
We driving down the road in that hail and it busted the windshield and glass. We had to pull over. We got an ambulance on the way.
In Texas, severe weather can truly happen any month, any day of the year.
Hi, Pete. How you doing?
In 2005, Pete Delkus joined the weather team at Channel 8.
High pressure in control.
And when Duncan retired 2 years later, the former ball player stepped up to the plate.
It's a funny thing here in Dallas-Fort Worth where people are like, hey, we know the weather's going to be bad because Pete's taking his jacket off.
We then had a funnel cloud that developed and then boom, on the ground.
Like April 2012, when 17 tornadoes touched down in DFW in one day.
What I remember most is the assignment editor screaming, "There's another one." Tornado, tornado. In a matter of minutes, that newsroom turned into a well-oiled machine.
On the ground right now.
We've got a serious situation on our hands right now.
But it's not always serious, especially when Delkus
I was incredibly fat.
Shared the screen with Dale Hansen.
Oh my God.
Now, who's this Dale Hansen you're referring to? Almost nothing off limits, truly.
3 years ago, I was overserved, and I got your face tattooed right here. It was like the brother that I never had.
Can you imagine eating one of those and sitting out there in the sun?
One of the reasons I love being the weather guy is I get to have fun.
Everyone in McKinney is dead. It's hot in McKinney.
The great thing about doing the weather is about 95% of the time you can have some fun with it.
You really got to watch your backside.
Reporting live, I'm Valerie Williams. Back to you, Chip and Tracy.
Valerie, we understand that the wind chill factor out there earlier today was 13 below. Sounds like you're having a hard time talking.
For more than 25 years, Greg Fields has got your day started with weather.
Grabbed the leash this morning, not going to have any issues.
And for nearly 50 years, Troy and Pete have kept you informed throughout the evening.
We had that bad snowstorm, blizzard weather out west, and typically we send the newbie out to do that sort of thing, and that happened to be Valerie Williams.
And then we move outside.
She was standing there, and the more she talked, the more her mouth froze.
Amarillo authorities would certainly be thankful.
Bless his heart, Chip would try everything he could
13 below
to ask a good question, but he'd be kind of chuckling underneath. And then finally they came back to me and I just lost it.
as far as North Texas.
It's just so interesting how that early on the local stations had to provide so much more of their own programming, not just the news content, but the entertainment and everything else to kind of build it out.
I mean, I remember Mr. Peppermint.
Yeah.
Vern was Mr. Wiggly Worm, right?
Wiggly
and so
Worm.
basically Wiggly Worm never said anything.
We would like to see you.
And basically he was a hole in the table with a finger sticking out, a glove finger, and that was Mr. Wiggly Worm. And they were quite a pair.
And were
those
they
two.
popular?
Oh,
my God.
Kids
yes.
loved it. Grew up watching Mr. Peppermint.
Right.
Local programming in those early years was a big thing at television stations.
Much of it children's programming, like ventriloquist Jimmy Weldon and the Webster Webfoot Show.
Hi everybody, this is Webster Webfoot.
Original TV shows unashamed to show off their sponsor, for example.
The Frito Kid.
Popeye had his spinach and our hero had Fritos.
And with new strength, he managed to muster up enough energy to push back the truck.
And strength to battle bad guys in scenes across Dallas, the city's first real exposure, on a TV screen. The swingin' 60s brought our own local version of American Bandstand.
On Channel 8.
Called
It's Something Else.
And Jim Rowley, the director of the show for all those years, was the man who came up with the term something else. As soon as he came up with that, we all went, that's it. That's the name of the show. It was a show that would bring young people from all over North Texas to North Park by 4:30 in the afternoon.
We had people standing in line who were there shopping, wanting to get into the show, enormously successful. It brought excitement out of the TV studios and out into the public.
Unfortunately, we got the flack.
Station manager Mike Shapiro wanted to get you, the audience, involved by taking your comments and questions on the aptly named show, Let Me Speak to the Manager.
There ain't no way we're gonna win.
The stadium will be open to the public.
Perhaps our brightest star was news reporter Jerry Haynes, not in this role, but when he transformed to this one.
Everybody loved Mr. Peppermint.
Mr. Wiggly, please wake up.
And the little puppet that Vern had his hand in.
Hi, Mr. Peppermint.
Mr. Peppermint and sidekick Muffin, played by puppeteer Vern Daly, captivated a generation of children on the show Peppermint Place.
Jerry Haynes was an enormous talent, wonderful with kids.
And those two were hysterical.
How many kids grew up in Dallas-Fort Worth watching Mr. Peppermint?
You walk down the street with them, the little kids would scream, Mr. Peppermint!
And they were being syndicated to stations all over the country.
Bowling for dollars. Even legendary sportscaster Vern Lundquist got in on local programming during his WFAA years.
Come here!
I said, no, I'm a sports broadcaster. I'm not a game show host.
Albeit reluctantly.
It was a syndicated format, but you had to have a local personality.
And the Ward said, take a look at your contract. You work for me, and you are going to host it. So I said, oh, my reputation.
My name is Don Harris, and this is Susie Humphreys. We have a program called News 8, Etc.
And it was a program that broke the mold for morning TV.
Don Harris. He teamed up with Susie Humphreys, wonderful interviews with important people, but they would also talk about light stuff.
It was a mix of news, laughs, and entertainment, but show host Don Harris went on to become a correspondent for NBC News and was among those killed in Jonestown, Guyana in 1978.
It's Good Morning Texas.
And our very own Good Morning Texas that launched 30 years ago this month.
Texas is our home.
With a guest that would go on to do some pretty important work.
I want to help Mother and Dad.
More recently, WFAA has stepped outside the world of news, weather, and sports.
It's Big D-N-Y-E.
To produce entire events.
The fact that I could do some New Year's Eve show that 40, 50,000 people would would experience, in person. Man, that was a lot of fun.
Big D NYE gave you plans for New Year's Eve and gave us a chance to celebrate it with you.
Welcome 2008. See ya.
Big D NYE was a blast for me. I mean, I love that thing.
Tiny shows from our humble beginnings, but large legacies that can't be forgotten when telling the 75-year story of WFAA.
This market, and by market I mean the different television stations in North Texas, didn't have anything like that. And they went out of their way to make it a production that people would not forget. And they didn't forget it. It was huge. I mean, just absolutely huge. Yeah. And people loved it.
You know Dale's going to be mad if we don't mention him, okay?
Yeah.
So, Dale, Vern, Joe Trahan, WFAA Sports.
There's no question that we had the best sports department anywhere. It was that kind of legacy that I think we still feel when we watch sports today. And Joe's doing a great job. Of course, Dale did a great job. Mm-hmm. But people talk about this sports department nationally.
Here we go! Now let's go, Cowboys!
Effort and enthusiasm.
Soak this in. They have the best team in the world. Congratulations, your World Series champ. Thank you so much.
Game 5 of the NBA Finals.
Now that they're taking place in the Southeastern Conference.
Yep, that's WFAA Sports Today. You're probably wondering how we got here.
Evening Edition Sports.
Before he was Mr. Peppermint, Jerry Haynes did sports at Channel 8, as did former Dallas Mayor Wes Wise, former Dallas Cowboys quarterback Don Meredith, and Dave Lane, who later became general manager of the station.
When it comes to sports, he's the name of the game.
In 1967, Lane handed the job off to the unmistakable Vern Lundquist.
The Texas Rangers, there really is such an entity.
I've seen pictures of some of those outfits, and I just want to cringe.
George Reba, Channel 8 Sports.
George was indefatigable. He's the hardest working guy I've ever known.
San Diego.
College Station.
Tokyo.
Thousand Oaks.
George Reba, Channel 8 Sports at Valley Ranch.
When Vern left, I said, how are we going to replace this guy?
Taxi!
Where to, buddy?
Channel 8.
Well, here comes Hanson. I'm going, whoa.
I'm Dale Hansen. We have more time tonight because this story deserves more time.
The SMU story changed me completely. It changed everything I am.
SMU has received the toughest penalty ever given a major college football program.
The story simply came from a phone call, like most good stories do.
Dale is here now with this exclusive report.
I received $25,000 to attend SMU.
Is that your letter?
Everything that followed for me after SMU, I think made me better. The commentaries that I wrote.
We'll fly our flags at half-mast, we'll say all the right things, we'll make promises we won't keep, and then nothing will change.
Sees through a lot of things, I think, and sees it the way it should be.
But the Michael Sam commentary, it's my single favorite moment of 50 years in broadcasting.
I'm not always comfortable when a man tells me he's gay. I don't understand his world, but I do understand that he's part of mine.
His willingness to take on challenging topics.
They and all of us should protest how black Americans are treated in this country.
If I'm doing it right, if I'm honest, and trying to be as fair as I possibly can, I don't care if you don't like it.
Since 1967, just 3 people have held the role of main sports anchor at WFAA: Vern, Dale, and Joe Trahan.
I want to thank both of them. I want to thank Dale and I want to thank Vern because they put the bar incredibly high.
I certainly don't look at you as a traditional sportscaster.
I hope not.
No, I mean,
I hope not.
Look, we've had our battles over the years, right? You're not shy, you have an opinion.
We provided glimpses of greatness for our viewers that no one would have ever seen.
Touchdown, South Oak Cliff!
If we didn't cover high school athletics the way we do.
Playing out there, competing, that's my favorite thing.
Pressure that's applied to us, we use it and we grow from it.
Come together to have a great team.
Didn't have to go out there and jinx it again.
It's hard because they hit it so much further than me.
The high school show was fantastic for us unearthing some of those young stars.
Chris Bosch on the receiving end of the alley-oop.
My ultimate goal, I said I wanted to win the Masters.
That's when the great ones, they come out.
Right now, the main focus is on winning a state championship.
We have had so many championships come through this area, and it's really become this sports mecca.
Go, Rangers!
I dreamed of this day. We were live in the locker room after the game.
Yeah, baby!
Here's Eddie Belfort taking the Stanley Cup and licking it with his tongue.
That Mavericks one in 2011 was crazy. Dirk, can you just talk about what this day will mean to you? That team loved to have fun. The Rangers championship.
Imagine what Rangers fans are doing right now back in Texas.
When that playoff run started, no one gave them a chance. And a championship was the result. It was incredible.
Izzy and I have never experienced, the Cowboys hoisting that trophy. John, Gloria, I know you guys got several in the 90s. Tracy Iola.
Yes.
You were there for the one in 77,
yes,
right?
absolutely.
What was that like when they actually
won?
won?
They used to send us to cover the Super Bowl, and it was a party and good times, and we were always expected to do stories while we were there, too, so we'd run around and try to find something.
The Dallas Cowboys have made their headquarters here in Florida.
Covering the Super Bowls was really a lot of fun.
The Dallas Cowboys were formed in 1960.
Naturally, we expect to do well.
Led by head coach Tom Landry.
In your hometown, do you feel something more or less akin to being on the spot this year?
Well, you might say so.
Tom Landry is probably the most stoic human being I've ever met in my life.
Under Landry and star quarterback Roger Staubach, the Cowboys won a pair of Super Bowls in the 70s.
Tex Schramm, the general manager at the time, he would hand out sheets, players' names, home addresses, telephone numbers. If you wanted to call whomever and do a story, just look on the sheet. Oh, yeah, there it is, and call him up.
Friday night before the Super Bowl, maybe we could get Craig and Roger live on Channel 8.
Roger, this is Craig Morton.
Hello, Mr. Staubach. Channel 8 is over here on this side of the town.
But to have the opposing quarterbacks, I gotta tell you, that was kind of a coup.
Roger.
Thanks, Vern.
But we get to the end of the decade, and here comes this guy from Arkansas.
Valley Ranch, though, about to host a news conference, the magnitude of which it's never seen before.
Jerry Jones and Jimmy Johnson appear ready to assume control of the Dallas Cowboys.
This is a new era for the Cowboys.
Landry quietly emptied 29 years of his life into cardboard boxes.
It was pandemonium.
We must win.
I want the job done.
In 1990, Jerry Jones foretold the future.
We're sitting here 10 years from today doing this again. What are you going to be talking about and telling me about then?
Remembering the great teams of the 90s.
Every time we step on the field, we expect to win.
This celebration will no doubt continue all the way back to Dallas.
Now the Super Bowl win has sunk in.
Non-stop Super Bowl coverage. It was awesome.
From 71 to 96, the Cowboys went to the Super Bowl 8 times, but they haven't been back since.
Cowboys owner Jerry Jones joined me here now.
When Dale initially started critiquing my tenure with the Cowboys, he inspired me more than any single individual.
It was kind of a joke, but keep going.
No. I want you to know, Dale, and by the way, thank you for saying in that article about that.
I put together a couple of notes here on what's happened since you last won a Super Bowl in '96.
12-5. Who cares when we lose like this to the freaking Packers?
They have so many varied opinions.
It's disgusting. I'm tired.
They're going to be vocal. They're going to let you know how they feel.
I think legacy gone, man.
The opposite is apathy. We don't have to worry about that.
You know, we had mentioned JFK and what that assassination did to the image of Dallas and Fort Worth. The Super Bowl and the Cowboys playing as grandly as they did, I think, had just a key impact on improving the image of the city of Dallas.
That wraps it up from Tempe. My babies were 2, and I was out in Tempe. That was my first trip out on assignments since they were little, right? And it was quite an experience. It was fun, but I didn't think we'd be waiting so long, that I'd be a gray-haired old lady and we'd still be
But you
waiting.
got one for the Texas Rangers
I
glove.
did finally! Yay! Yes, go Rangers!
As journalists, you don't want to be a part of the story. You want to stand back from it.
Right.
But Tracy, I guess George Lott
put
boy. WFAA directly in the story.
You were part of the news there.
There wasn't much we could do about it. He was going through a very bitter divorce, lost his son to his wife, and he took a pistol and went into the courthouse in Fort Worth. They were trying to track him down all day long. He decided that he wanted to come to Channel 8. He was a Channel 8 fan.
I get a call from the front desk.
Photographer and assignment editor John Good Johnson remembers July 1st, 1992.
I heard this whispering, I think the shooter is here, and he wants to talk to Tracy.
The gunman who had just killed 2 lawyers in a Tarrant County courtroom.
George Lott knew that we were number 1, and that's why he came here. I said, are you still armed? And he said, yes. And I said, can't have that. I said, why don't you give it to me?
I've sinned. I am certainly wrong.
George Lott was arrested here at the TV station and 2 years later, executed for his crimes.
The Teamsters didn't like me. That was on the record.
Legendary reporter Byron Harris knows a thing or two about the dangers of being a journalist.
And the Teamsters were a fairly corrupt organization at that point.
The punches he took from local Teamsters proved that.
So these guys came up to me and started beating me up. So they smashed the camera and they smashed the recorder too, but they didn't destroy the videotape. So we still had the videotape. It was quite a deal, but I lived through it, of course.
Photographer Arnold Payne was inside the Dallas Cowboys practice bubble when it collapsed in high winds.
As I'm running, you can see the structure falling and the ceiling and the iron, and you could literally see everybody was running for their lives. You could hear voices. Guys were trapped.
An accident that left one Cowboy scout paralyzed.
It was a day that I would never forget.
The protest became a little bit more intense.
I've developed this mindset of get the shot, no matter the cost.
Photographers Brandon Mowry and Josh Stephen were in the line of fire on another day. Dallas will never forget.
An incredible barrage of gunfire.
July 7th, 2016.
A bullet hits very close to me.
Are they coming?
Get out of here! Get out of here!
Get out of here!
There's a shooting right there!
And it just made me realize, like, I gotta get out of here. What am I doing?
Gunshots were just, it sounded like cannon.
5 police officers killed. The gunman eventually neutralized.
I didn't realize until July 7th I was actually adding my life to that list of causes.
Journalism often requires photographers putting themselves in the line of fire too.
You forget words, you don't forget images. And our photojournalists allowed you to feel and hear
Black Lives Matter!
And see.
Oh, God, keep us safe!
So we don't forget.
I don't know if people realize until they leave the DFW area how good the photographers are here. But the reason why that is so important is we call them photojournalists because that is what they are. They are making editorial decisions with the pictures that they give back to us. So, yeah, we can't say enough about it.
So, when I say WFAA and investigative journalism, what does that mean to each one of you?
It doesn't matter how dogged of a reporter you are. If you don't have the backing of your station, if you don't have the station that's going to actually support your work and defend you, It's not going to go anywhere.
That was the thing that set Channel 8 apart from all the other stations.
This TV station did not walk away from a lot of things that it could have walked away from. I'm talking about things that fundamentally change society.
Main informant, a recruiter would meet them.
Been suspended.
Well, how did this start for you?
Decade after decade in the dogged pursuit of truth and justice, digging into the dark to shine a light.
Are we in a crisis?
You're absolutely in a crisis.
Investigative journalism gets to the heart of people who don't have a voice.
It's not right what they're doing.
And for many years, who could forget that catchy tagline?
As News 8 investigate.
Everything I did was as a team.
Our team is the baddest, boldest journalists you'd find anywhere.
Don't take a backseat to anybody. That was the ethos.
Veteran investigative reporter Byron Harris took on big financial entities.
Changed financial history.
Like in the savings and loan crisis of the 1980s.
Texas Savings and Loans bought a virtual air force of corporate jets, and nobody raised an eyebrow.
At the time, we thought it was huge. It was $200 million.
6 children over a period of 6 months.
Or how about the Medicaid fraud cases where dentists got filthy rich by luring poor kids into clinics and billing the government for unnecessary procedures?
Atmos crews made a shocking discovery. Gas lines were leaking all over the neighborhood.
Veteran investigative reporter Brett Shipp unearthed how aging pipelines led to gas leaks and house explosions across DFW.
The assistant news director, Mark Genther, told me, take as much time as you want, do whatever digging you have to do, but you need to find out why Benny and Martha Cryer died. Unlike most fittings which lock tight, this coupling's only mechanism to grip the pipe, a rubber seal.
It was our series of stories on fake drugs that put away 2 rogue Dallas officers who planted powdered chalk to convict dozens of immigrant defendants on drug charges.
Professing their innocence until the drugs were finally tested by the district attorney.
We have held the powerful accountable.
Our stories have changed laws and vindicated the little guy and the wrongfully accused.
We also have a bar of excellence that we never lose sight of. We don't do mediocre here.
WFAA's investigative teams have earned 11 Silver Baton DuPonts, and WFAA is the only local station to earn the Gold Baton DuPont for a trio of stories.
WFAA represents the police of society in this community.
When I opened the door, I was like, okay, this is what they're talking about.
We are here without a badge to protect and serve.
We can't have a free society unless we have a free press. But it also means that the people who are part of that society, the citizens, get informed and stay informed, not just the point of view, the political point of view that perhaps you subscribe to, but try to find out what else the other side is saying, and then make up your own mind.
I always thought that, and still believe, that for a journalist, trust is everything. If it's coming out of my mouth, then it's going to be something that I can stand behind.
Right.
We fortunately work for a television station that stood behind us. And I'm not going to tell you that they were all smiles and that sort of thing. I mean, we had our knockdown dragouts. But in the end, we can tell you that what we told you, we believe to be factual, and we believe to be necessary for us to have a free society.
You know, the one thing we can all stand on right now is the viewers come to us, can I trust what they say? Am I getting the real story here? And I think that's the key with WFAA through all these years, is that they can still look to us and say, I know I can trust them. From Pete and Joe, Izzy and I mean, being here with you guys sort of reaffirms the legacy that we're all trying to live up to every day. So I can't thank you all enough for coming in and for sharing some of these wonderful stories.
Thanks for asking us.
Absolutely.
This was fun.
To be here.
Yeah.
It was. It's so good to see you.
Let's do it every month.
Yeah. Do y'all miss it? Do y'all want to come back?
Oh, no. Retirement is great.
Dale told me he misses us every other week.
Every other week.
It's not that I have a crystal ball, but I believe it in my heart where we're headed. In 5, 10, 15 years, our audience is going to care about what's happening right here in North Texas. It's going to look very different. The way we serve our audience, the number of screens, the kinds of products, and the way we serve our advertisers.
It's the information in the story
that will always matter. I think about stories that connect communities. My goodness gracious.
Give me a hug, honey. How are you?
WFAA is sort of like this innovative spirit, is always going to find a way to connect with the community wherever they are.
I think the future is bright for local television journalism. People need to know what's happening in their community. We are the place to get it. I mean, you see a great piece of video journalism and you think, wow, and it's about your town, it lifts all boats. It makes a whole community proud. What would we be without that?